welcome back to Lex Reads. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about my first time reading these authors. These are new authors for me, and I want to share some that I really did enjoy and would be willing to read more of their work. So let's just get started. Okay, so the first is, of course, I've been on a kick with them, is Donna Grant and Virginia D. Berry. They are co-authors, and I started off with Better Than I Know Myself. I did a read a book in one day because I was inspired when my sister was telling me about it. She likes to listen to audiobooks, and she was telling me about these authors, and I said, you know what, let me read them. And I started with this, and like 2 days after I was done with this book, I started this book, Trying to Sleep in the Bed You Made, by them, and unbelievable. These are new editions of this book that just came out this year. First of all, their writing is just unbelievable, you guys. You guys saw when I did my read a book in one day of this book how I was just gushing over them because they can tell a well-rounded story and it's not boring. Also, too, their books and characters are not the same. These three characters are not the same as these two characters, okay? I plan on reading more of theirs. Next is D.H. Lawrence. This is Lady Chatterley's Lover. This is the first book I started off with him. You guys know I have been on a classic kick, and it has been out of my comfort zone because y'all know classics to me is a bore, but for some reason I was able to really navigate them, but that's because I picked books that were interesting to me, that I knew that I wasn't going to just be a bore. And I wanted to read this in particular because I watched the movie on Netflix earlier this year, and I said, you know what, let me read the book, which the book was way better than the movie. You explored a lot more, but this book was banned because it's heavily sexual, but it's not vulgar. You're dealing with a young lady named Connie. Connie is, her husband is paralyzed from the waist down, and she realizes, oh Lord, what have I gotten myself into? Okay. And this is back in a time where women are not meant to be sexual or anything like that. And she has to explore some other avenues. But this was very, very good. Very good. So I went on a rampage of getting a good amount of his books. And yeah, I can't wait to read him again. Next is Asha Limi. This is 50 Words for Rain. And this was her debut novel. I believe it came out, when did this come out? This came out in 2020, and it was a New York Times bestseller. I wanted to read this because it's a historical fiction book. You guys know how much I love historical fiction. But this is a book based in, I believe, after World War II. You have a young girl. She is biracial. Her mother is Japanese. Her father was Black. And she comes from, her family on her mother's side comes from like high society, like Japanese royalty. And because of her lineage, you know, her dad being Black, they, you know, hide her. They treat her horribly, that grandmother. And you just see how she has to, you know, go on with the world. But she has a half brother that really does take her, you know, underneath his wing and really does love this girl. And it was such a great story. I was, okay, towards the end, it was like, girl, seriously? Of all the things that happen to you, this is what you go do? But you still understood why she, you know, did some things. But overall, this book is really good. I am willing to read her sophomore book that came out, I want to say last year. Next is, oh, love this book, In West Mills by Deshun Charles Winslow. This was our book club pick for this year for Unsung Black Book Club. And y'all, this is his first book. It doesn't read like a first book. After I read this, I ended up getting his second book because some of the characters that are in West Mill are in the second book, but it's a completely different story. This man, he knows how to write women characters. I would say it all the time, where sometimes, you know, male writers, they just fumble when it comes to writing women characters, especially Black women characters, okay? But he can do no wrong. When I tell you, not the main character, I forgot that a male was writing this book because he just, the way he captured that woman, this story was so good. And it's a story, it's like a, not a family saga, but you see the characters grow up, and then it's in a small town, and y'all know them small towns, they be gossiping and getting things wrong, and you know how much I say I love that tea and drama. Girl, this was full of tea and drama, okay? Because the tea up in here was so good. But I do have his second book. I need to read that like pronto, okay, y'all. I have to read Decent People. That's the his second book that he came out with last year, I believe. Next is The Goodness of Saint Roch by Alice Dunbar Nelson. You guys know I also did a read a book in one day. I stumbled upon this book, stumbled upon this author, and was pleasantly surprised. This is Paul Laurence Dunbar's wife, but she is known as a short story author. Also, she's known for her poetry, but she was in a league of her own. If you like stories that are set in the South, specifically from New Orleans, you would really like her. Also, if you're looking for, a short story collection, I would say read this because it's really, really good. And her writing, amazing. You guys know she's from the Harlem Renaissance. Y'all know that's my stuff. So when I literally saw this in the bookstore, I picked it up and I said, I'm getting this. I really didn't even read it. I just had to pick it up because you don't hear a lot about Alice Dunbar Nelson, and there's not a lot of her collections out. And y'all know how they do with the Black authors that are not just well known. They don't like to publish their works a lot. But Modern Library, they came out with this collection. I want to say when. I'm always curious about the publication. In 2022. Next is Erasure by Percival Everett. This is the first time I ever read him, and it probably won't be the last. I wanted to read this after seeing the movie American Fiction because it was based off of this, even though American Fiction is a tiny bit different. Well, actually, no. Only thing they didn't explore was like his parents. What was his name? Monk. You didn't really learn a lot about his dad. You find out more about his dad and what his dad did. But overall, the movie was fantastic. Like I said, after I watched the movie, I said, let me get the book. His writing is he does experiment, but it's in the right way because he does know how to tell a story, and also he knows how to write. But it does have some experimental aspects, but like I said, he does it right, so you're not confused. And I mean, come on now, I love the fact that you're dealing with a young man. He is a professor, Black studies professor, and he cannot get his works published anymore. And he's like, you know what, be a stereotype. I'm gonna write a book about, everything that they stereotype about Blacks. Men having multiple, baby mamas, not being married, being on drugs and all that. And it ends up blowing up. I like the way he explores and gets into the mind of the publishing world, because you do see that, girl. When it comes to our works, they just don't know what they be doing. But yeah, this was so good. And then lastly, y'all know this author at the beginning of the year, I believe, I got into him, which was Truman Capote, because of the series from FX. And I had heard of Truman Capote, but never read any of his works because I only had associated with him with In Cold Blood, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not reading that. But once I watched that series on FX, I said, let me read more of him, and I was pleasantly surprised because he knows how to write. And then what makes him even more of just a phenomenon is his personal life. Lord, he just caused so much havoc because he talks so much. But I was on a kick and I read Breakfast at Tiffany's, which I like this way better than the movie, I would say. I'm not really a fan of Breakfast at Tiffany's. It's kind of like, to me, one and done. I love the, wardrobe. And I mean, Audrey Hepburn, she all right. Look, Dorothy Derringer's all the way, okay? But like I said, I like the wardrobe of the movie, but it's a little bit more gritty. A lot more gritty, okay? Because Holly Golightly, she's a call girl, which she's a prostitute. In the movie, they, kind of explore that, but in this, it's a little bit more tea. And then this is a book that caused so much drama. These were short stories called Answered Prayers that was published in Esquire magazine that he did not finish because of the havoc. He told all of his friends' business, and I mean, told up some tea. You hear me? So after he published those short stories, he just went down. And then I wanted to read this. This is the Grass Harp, and the Glass Harp, and also his other stories. He is known for his short stories, but he does write novels. But this is such a cute little story. He is he grew up in the South, so I always say those authors that, grew up in the South, they just know how to write and tell a story, and he is one of them. I was already a win in my book, and then, like I said, when I really did watch that series and they really did get in the nitty-gritty of his life and also his professional life, I just really want to pick up his books and had a time of my life, okay? I was up in here just talking to myself, reading these books because they're so, so, so good. So yeah, guys, that is it when it comes to these first-time authors of mine that I have read this year. And I've read a good amount of new authors to me. Usually I stick to the same people sometimes, but I'm like, you know what? Let me explore a little bit. And I have, okay, because y'all know I read 95% is Black literature. And this year I have read, for me, a good amount of non-Black authors. And that is new to me, okay? But so excited that I stumbled upon these authors and read them and can't wait to explore more of their work. So yeah, guys, that's all I have for you. And I'll be back with more Black books. Bye.